Liverpool 3, Arsenal 1. The Reds repeating a trick from their champions playbook to come back from a goal down to win 3-1. Mane fantastic, Trent incredible, Diogo Jota debut delight. Welcome to the Debrief Live here on the Blood Red channel. I'm Guy Clarke alongside Matt Addison and Theo Squires as we look back on the night showing at Anfield as the Reds made it 3 from 3. Come to you first, Theo. Performance of champions, no?
Yeah, it was a very professional performance from Liverpool. So dominant in the first half, it was like attack versus defence. I think the commentators jinxed it somewhat by saying, Arsenal, they're going to struggle to challenge against this Liverpool team, but they are good on the counter-attack. The counter-attack they scored from that offensive mistake from Andy Robertson. But Liverpool, they don't let it get to them. They just carry on doing their job. And this is without fans in the stadium. So can you imagine what the reaction would have been if they had fans at Anfield tonight? And you just never thought they were going to lose. You never thought they were going to drop points because they are professional. They've got this confidence from being European champions, from being Premier League champions, and they always get the job done. As soon as that first goal went in from Sadio Mane, how many can they score now? Did a long goal for Robertson, take ends and get that goal? And then in the second half, it was a bit more end-to-end, wasn't it? But Addison, thank God he started. He was superb in goal, made a couple of crucial saves. Liverpool probably could have gone close a couple of times. And in the end, debutant Diogo Jota puts the cherry on top of the cake with that lovely finish right at the death.
Yeah, it was a great finish at the end. The title of the stream, new boy Diogo Jota caps victory for the Reds, Matt. And he was on pitch for less than 10 minutes. Yet Theo and I were talking before we came on air and said he probably could have had a hat-trick.
Yeah, very much so. The first one, a real sitter. I think he would have been really disappointed, but it showed, his attitude and sort of quality he's got, that he back quickly. Mohamed Salah then took the second one off his toe when he probably would have scored in that situation, and that third one was a really neat finish. So yeah, fantastic start for him to get under his belt at a goal at a stage already, obviously to seal the game as well. It was a button one, so I think it could be something to really kickstart his career at Liverpool. So yeah, it was great to see. It was a slight surprise that he came on for Sadio Mane instead of Robertson Firmino, who I thought that quiet Sadio Mane sure will come to absolutely electric all game. But yeah, in the end, it proved to be the right decision, and no doubt about it for me, the right team were the winners today.
Yeah, before we talk on a few of the individuals then, Theo, how important is it that Liverpool came out with a performance like this? It was in many ways the complete performance, certainly after what Man City served up yesterday at home to Leicester City, that Liverpool, I suppose, already, even if it's too early to talk about points, psychologically even down a marker on City early on in what is the title race.
Yeah, definitely. If you think back to last season, I remember, was it the first City defeat against Norwich? That was really early on. And that's what got Liverpool ahead, and they stayed there for the rest of the season. And it is important to make sure you're not playing catch-up, because as soon as you're in that position, it's yours to lose. And granted, it is too early. The title race, we can all assume, is going to be a hell of a lot closer this year as last year. But it just gives that Liverpool that little bit of belief. Like we've had a couple of games against Arsenal where it's not gone their way. They've not been fully at the races. And you do get that seed of doubt. When the fixtures came out, it was a very tough start, and when you see Liverpool ship 3 goals to a newly promoted side, granted Leeds United was superb, you think, this is the Liverpool that won the league? Is it just going to be 1 year where they absolutely smash it, and then it's going to be a bit harder for them? But these 2 signings, and it seems to have lifted the place. Obviously, the fans now, that there's just that added confidence. And you can see it in the players as well. Like, they thought this might be tighter when you can say what Chelsea have done in the City in the window, but just gone and taken it up a level again. Arsenal, granted, they're not going to be in a title race, you'd imagine, by the end of the season, but these 2 performances back to back against Chelsea and them, when these are supposed to be 2 of the best teams in the division on their day, definitely 2 of the biggest names, just shows what they're about. If you can go and get a clean sheet away at Chelsea, win by 2 goals, and then it's only a defensive mistake that stops you keeping a clean sheet and winning by 3 at Anfield against Arsenal. That's why they're the champions. If they can keep this up for a season, as they have done for the last 2 years, it could be the start of another Liverpool dynasty.
We've got plenty of people getting in touch with us on the YouTube chat, the live chat. Do get in touch with us on there if there are any players in particular you want us to talk about. We do often do here on the debrief, but one early one that's come in, Matt, talking all about Joe Gomez. Gomez was great today. Hope he's got it back for good. 10 out of 10. And I suppose that's one thing for Liverpool right across the board. They're sort of into it, are a defensive mistake. It would have been the complete performance, and so many individuals all seem to have a really strong game tonight.
Yeah, I think that first half in particular, that was probably as good as what we saw last season from Liverpool. Obviously, there's a bit of defensive issue at times, sort of back end of last season. And as Theo said, the Leeds game in particular, they seemed to be a little bit all over the place. But tonight they were much more solid. And Joe Gomez, as the commenter rightly there says, he was really assured there today. There was a couple of bits where Aubameyang and Lacazette managed to get through, but then, Addison did his job behind. And you never really felt like Liverpool were under the cosh for a sustained period of time. It was always very much their control, which you expect at Anfield, but I suppose without fans there, it's never going to be quite the same game. So we know that the threat that Arsenal have got, but at the same time, you're comfortable having seen Liverpool now for a couple of seasons defensively be the best team in this country, if not, further afield in that regard. So, yeah, it's no real surprise. I think Joe Gomez, rightly is picked out as being excellent. I think Andy Robertson was largely excellent, apart from that first mistake, which was completely uncharacteristic. But the issue we said on the debrief after the Leeds game, it wasn't necessarily the individuals; it was more the collective performance. Those sorts of mistakes, the sort of bind being all over the place, zigzag, that sort of thing. And we saw, a much different Liverpool team today there at Anfield. It was not the case that they were, the full-backs and the centre-backs were disjointed. It was very much a defensive unit rather than individuals. I thought that was a big improvement. And look, Leeds caused Liverpool problems, but it looks like they've learnt those lessons. And, we know how good they are in attack. If Arsenal only score one, you always fancy, Liverpool will score at least, particularly at home, and that's how it was today. So, yeah, really promising, really good performances all over the pitch. Sadio Mane, probably the man of the match, but there was a few real contenders.
Yes, certainly was. Nick Smart already saying Theo, league's over, and Paul Scott saying that Arsenal were trapped throughout the course of the game in a really, really controlled game for Liverpool. Let's talk on some of the standout performers then. Social media, right, with Trent Alexander-Arnold certainly in that first half, and the delivery for Andy Robertson's goal was brilliant within itself, but there was one before that. I think it was towards Sadio Mane that Arsenal, put out for a corner where the balls were cleared. The first time he whipped one again, he really was on his form tonight.
He did a really good one to Virgil and Van Dijk as well, didn't he, in the first half, which David Luiz got away. Yes, when Trent's on form, when he's got his crossing boots on, you can't stop him. There's such variety to the he puts in the box. And I think he's not had the best start to the season. He's fallen behind early on to Robertson in their little friendly assist competition. But it's back to his best today. Some really good balls into the box. He was up and down that flank, supporting Mohamed Salah. And it's what you expect from him now. Liverpool have got this issue where you see these players put in such good performances for an extended period of time that you almost take it for granted that they're going to keep doing it. And we've seen it with Van Dijk, and Trent almost become one of those as well for me now, because it's this is a really good performance from a young right back, but it's what you expect from him. You don't expect those standards to slip. You just think this is going to be what he's going to be for every game now, and just keep rising his levels as he goes along, as he gets older with that experience. And he is Liverpool's most attacking threat. You'd say he's most dangerous playmaker. It's telling that he came and put in this performance, I think, for him when Thiago was missing, because that signal a change of plan for Liverpool if there's less focus on the fullback, so it's coming from him as a number 6, but the fullbacks have still got that quality. They're still getting forward, they're still putting in great crosses, still putting balls on players, and it is reasons why he's the best right back in the league. He's probably the best right back in the world. Yeah,
and if Trent Alexander-Arnold had a great first half, Matt, another player didn't see out, obviously all of the second half came off for Diogo Jota. Sadio Mane, now his 5th season with Liverpool, and year on year, he just seems to get better and better and better.
Yeah, he was absolutely electric once again. He's got good form against Arsenal, hasn't he? He's always sort of in those sorts of positions, and not John as well. Bayern did pretty well against him all things considered, how good he was. He sort of limited him as much as he could. But yeah, when Sadio Mane is at top form, at top speed, it really is impossible to play against him, to be honest. So I think there was so many good moments from him. It's difficult to pick one or two out, but he's just got that speed of thought, that quickness. He's one step ahead of everybody else. And when you've got somebody that good, as I said before, even though Arsenal scored one, Sadio Mane's on the pitch, you'd expect Liverpool to at least match that, or certainly probably better it. So yeah, look, it's one of those players where I think Sadio Mane is almost a little bit underappreciated at this moment in time. Going forward, we'll look at Mane and consider him possibly the best left-sided attacker Liverpool have ever had, potentially, by the end of his Liverpool career. I mean, obviously, John Barnes is the one that probably sticks out, but you look at Sadio Mane's life, he can use this for 2 or 3 more seasons, and there's no reason to think that he won't, then he's going to be right up there. So we know how dangerous Liverpool are. I thought Salah did pretty well. Sadio Mane was the standout. For me, a slight disappointment, but we've said it time and time again. As long as at least one, hopefully 2 of those front 3 are on fire, as they were tonight, Liverpool are always going to have a really good chance of at least getting a point, if not all 3.
Yeah, Dennis Hutton saying is class. On that topic, then, world class, Theo. You look at this Liverpool side, and it looks as though Matt's saying there that Mane may well go down as Liverpool's greatest ever wide left player. He may well do. This team may go down as Liverpool's greatest ever team as well, without wanting to get too carried away, because this is a team now for season after season have shown what they can do. And I suppose tonight, though, just shows that this summer and the recruitment Jurgen Klopp has done, it takes Liverpool on that next level. Thiago Alcantara and Jordan Henderson in the squad. That may be adding to the 11 that Liverpool did field 13 world-class players in the team, plus the 3 players who came off the bench in Milner, Minamino and Diogo Jota. There is such in depth. You compare that, for example, to Man City again against Leicester.
Yeah, I think it struck me really in this game when you see the players on the bench, but the players not on the bench, that Liverpool have got such strength and depth now. It's what we've been for 2 years, but it's where they've been a little lacking sometimes up against Manchester City. And granted, City have got a lot of injury problems at the moment, but you see their bench they've named against Leicester. There was a lot of kids on that team. You look at the Liverpool team, and it's like, granted, there's Nico Williams on there, there's Curtis Jones on there, but they're not just kids who they're making up numbers. These are quality options who, when they come in, they have performed for Liverpool. And there's like, Nojer and Shaqiri, players like that. Liverpool have got such depth now, and it's crazy how just 2-3 signings have changed it completely from you thinking, they're a little short in one position, a little short in 2. It's just changed how this squad looks. Liverpool, Premier League champions, and there was always this myth, wasn't there, that they got a bit lucky with injuries, ignoring the fact that they lost Addison to injury. They lost all the front 3 at various points. Midfielders, Henderson obviously missed the end of the season. But now, if they've got someone who does drop out for injury for whatever reason, they've got the quality there to just carry on. We've spoken plenty of times about this midfield, how it's virtually impossible to choose your first choice 3 because they're all so good. We've not mentioned him yet, but I thought Naby Keita had a fantastic game. He really grown into this role in this Liverpool team, I think, during the start of the season. He's dominating games a bit more, this pressing style. Like when Jurgen Klopp first came in, it was Adam Lallana, wasn't it, leading the press? And it's almost sort of performance of midnight where he's carrying defenders. Arsenal love to keep it in that back line. And he was the one straight on Leno, straight on the defenders. He's just getting involved. You think, we're not really talking about him when you've still got Jordan Henderson to come back. You've still got Oxlade-Chamberlain to come back. Thiago was missing. Gini Wijnaldum. Marco Grujic hasn't gone yet. James Milner. Curtis Jones. You can just go on and on. And Liverpool front 3. Minamino, we only got, a couple of minutes tonight when he looked so good against Lincoln. He looked so good against Arsenal in the Community Shield. It's just so many options. It's virtually impossible to choose a team week in, week out, apart from the 2-3 leading world-class stars like Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah.
What did you make of Naby Keita today, Matt? A lot of people getting in touch about him, and he does seem to be a player who splits opinion. There's a feeling of Liverpool fans who, of course, want to see him do so well. Personal opinion from me, if I just put my 2 pence worth in for 2 seconds, is he needs to have a run of games. You do see in glimpses within games what he can do, but at the same time, sometimes looks a bit lacking off the pace.
Yeah, I do think obviously there's a question long term about whether he's going to be that choice to level up with so matches. It's not necessarily the case that you can have just a first choice 11. It's going to be, as Theo says, with all those options, plenty of changes, and that's something that Naby Keita is going to have to adjust to. I think obviously it's important for him to keep up that momentum. I thought he was, excellent tonight. He looked faster. He looked stronger than what he has done for a lot of his Liverpool career, and obviously that pressing is a key part of that. So, look, if he can stay, we know how good he can be. It's no surprise that he reached those levels. We have seen him do that on occasion, but as you say, it's a case of sticking to that and making sure that carries on. So, look, I've said it time and time again. I think Naby Keita is in Liverpool's first choice midfield, and whether that is still the case now with Thiago Alcantara obviously in there as well, looks like he's going to be out now until after the international break in a couple of weeks. But it just gives Keita an opportunity. I think he obviously played very, very well tonight against a very good Arsenal team, a team that have got a lot better under Mikel Arteta. They look a lot more well coached. Obviously, we know exactly how they play, and I think Naby Keita almost was the perfect player to play against that. That Arsenal take a few chances, they do take a few risks and sort of play a high risk, high reward strategy, but Naby Keita, very much, high energy, and Gino Wijnaldum exactly the same alongside him. I think obviously it's easy to forget him with the rivals and speculation over his contract. I just thought it looked so balanced in that Liverpool midfield. We've seen obviously Keita play from the left side plenty of times, obviously played to the right of Fabinho there today, and at moments it just looked like the perfect field to play against Arsenal. So yeah, it was promising signs from Keita. I am a big fan of his, but as you say, it's more the injuries than the quality. That's the only question mark that you can have over him.
Yeah, well, before we go then, we best quickly touch on the fact it wasn't all sort of rainbows for Liverpool tonight. Arsenal, of course, were gifted their goal, and Theo had a huge chance as well midway through that second half with Alexandre Lacazette, who, of course, did benefit from the error in the first half. And but for Alisson, it could have been a different finale to the game for Liverpool.
Yeah, very much so. It's funny thinking all this pre-match talk was about Thiago. It was about Alisson as well. So, well, there were two big saves from Alisson tonight to deny it. Granted, one of them would have been called back for offside, but it's shown again his quality. I think he did an interview, didn't he, last week about Standard slipping towards the end of last season. He seems to be very much in form since it's back underway. And they were big saves at big moments. Arsenal were more in the game in the second half than they were in the first half. And when you're going to gift chances, as they did for the goal, or breaking the offside trap with Lacazette going in one-on-one, you need big moments from your keeper, and that would lift the team. As I said right at the start, imagine if you'd had a full Anfield crowd there. The Arsenal fans their heads would have just dropped, thinking, "Oh, this could be an equaliser." Anfield raw with Alisson saves like that, such a big moment, and then right at the other end, Jota goes and clinches it. But that's why Liverpool spent so much on Alisson, because he is a world-class keeper who can win them games like that. We've seen it before. Like, if they hadn't made big saves Napoli, they wouldn't have won the Champions League, so they got knocked out when Milik had that chance late on. And it's one where you sometimes don't take him for granted, but you forget he's there because Liverpool is so good and he doesn't have to make as many big saves as he would. He was in that inferior. But when he's needed, when he's called upon, he shows his quality there. And granted, Lacazette, he's got this history, doesn't he, of being a bit mismatched up front. Like if they'd fallen to Aubameyang, Arsenal probably would have got the goal. But Alisson can only stop in front of him, shows his quality. Thank goodness he started the game. Thank goodness he recovered from that injury that had seen him miss training.
Yeah, final thoughts then, Matt, after the cobwebs certainly evident against Leeds United, the wins over Chelsea and Arsenal in successive Premier League games. Villa up next in the league, of course, before the international break, and Everton waiting the other side of it for Liverpool. Looks as though the champions are up and running and firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, very much a performance of champions. I think it was an important timely reminder. There's been a lot of praise, quite rightly, for Arsenal and the job that Mikel Arteta has done in a relatively short period of time. But I think this was a reminder of just how Liverpool, and there is a significant gap between Liverpool and the rest of the Premier League teams. So we know that they fell off a little bit in terms of their form at the back end of last season. There was a few question marks, a few concerns about whether they would be able to get up to those goals, but on the evidence of those first few games, that is very much going to be the case. Obviously, there's a long, long way to go in this title race, but I think, that the rest of the teams in the Premier League are going to be very, very fearful whenever they come up against Liverpool. You only have to look at the problems that Guardiola and Manchester City have seen already this season. Obviously, they've got an expensive new defender coming in, but he's not going to solve their problems overnight. So, yeah, Liverpool are in a good position. There's still a lot to go, but even if Liverpool picked up 1 or 2 injuries, you've got to say now they are very much strong favourites to retain the title. They're in a very promising position, but yeah, I suppose it's one game at a time, and I'm sure nobody will be getting away at this point in time.
No, they certainly won't. Well, Liverpool 3 from 3 then to start the new Premier League season. 3-1 win over Arsenal at Anfield this evening. Jurgen Klopp's post-match press conference is to follow here on the Blood Red YouTube channel. Also, further reaction over on the Liverpool Echo. Do head over there and check out all of the reaction to the win for the Reds. But from myself, Guy Clarke, Theo Squires and Matt Addison, thanks for joining us for the Debrief live here on the Blood Red channel. For now, though, it's goodbye.